Good morning, everyone. Ho, 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 not morning where you're at? Well, that's okay, because you can have eggs for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Welcome to episode 16 of Three Eggs Are Better Than One. I am Brad Stanton, along with fellow eggs Matt M. and Brian Haremza. We would like to thank everybody for the positive feedback from last week. We really hope you enjoyed the roasting of Matt M. It was very enjoyable for me. I'm not sure how everybody else has felt about it, but hey, a lot of likes, a lot of comments, a lot of views, so we can't beat that. But let's keep the good news going. Matt, oh, sunny side up. Look who's first. What's your good news of the week?
All right. My good news of the week is I have been celebrating a TV show that I love that has just come to an end called Cobra Kai.
Hmm.
And I have something written here that I would like to share. It is called A Spoiler-Free Love Letter to Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is a TV series that ran for 6 seasons starting in 2018, with the first two airing on YouTube's premium subscription service and the remaining four on Netflix. Final episodes were just released recently. The series is a sequel or a spin-off to the original trilogy of Karate Kid films from 1984 to 1989, and those are very sacred to me. And they follow the adventures of a young man using martial arts to learn and grow and improve his place in the challenging fish out of water environment around him. I grew up with those movies. The VHSs were on heavy rotation in my house, and they meant and still mean the world to me. 80s pop culture greatness. When I first heard about Cobra Kai, I thought, oh no, this is going to be sacrilege, completely unnecessary, going back to the well, going to ruin its place in pop culture history, ruin its place in my heart. Time and again, there's reboots, remakes, sequels years and years later, and they just don't pan out. It's almost impossible to recapture the magic of the original. But Cobra Kai did it. I remember watching the first episode and thinking to myself, wait a minute, why is this so good? This has absolutely no business being this good. And it wasn't just good, it was great. I think I watched the whole first season in one day. I was blown away. You could tell immediately you had a full commitment from the actors, Ralph Macchio and William Zabka playing the protagonist, Daniel from the movies, Daniel LaRusso, and antagonist, Johnny Lawrence. And they explored that well-worn internet concept of, hey, maybe Johnny, the bad guy, wasn't really the villain all along, was he? And the other obvious achievement from the start was how sincerely the series was going to honor and respect the original films, instead of goofing on them or demeaning them or undermining the past storylines and canon and all that. And that's usually how these revivals go. But no, Cobra Kai was here almost as if it was a fan of the movies itself. I think the show should be studied for how true it stayed to the original material. Throughout the 6 season run, we're greeted with perfectly timed appearances, be them full-time or cameos from all of our old flames and old nemesis, classic quotes, expressions, concepts, recreations of key moments. Was the crane kick illegal? Daniel's-son paint the fence? Mr. Miyagi, Daniel's sensei from the films, his presence is all over the show, his teachings, his story, how it relates to the present day. Sure, the series has some issues. It has a big teeny bopper feel. There's 25-year-olds playing high school kids. And as it grew in prominence over the years, it's kind of got more and more ridiculous. But it never lost its charm. The original sentiment was always there till the end. And there was tears in the end. Oh, yes, there were. So thank you, Cobra Kai, for bringing a major childhood nostalgia to my adulthood and enhancing that treasured feeling I've always had for the films. Thank you for being the best revival series ever made. And thank you for showing us how it's done. Strike hard, strike fast, no mercy. Cobra Kai never dies. Thank you.
I'm also a fan of the series. I have not finished it. I mean, it just came out, I think, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, the last part of it. I just watched one episode of the part three of part six.
It's the sixth season.
Sixth season, part
divided
three.
into 3 parts.
Yes, my son was very upset that he had to go to boot camp before he could see this. He kept saying, "I'm not going to even be here. How am I going to know?" I'm like, "Okay, well, guess what? One thing nice about Netflix and all that, it'll still be there when you get back, no matter what." But I enjoy it as well. I'm not as far along as you. I appreciate the no spoilers. Brian, have you watched the series?
I have
Oh,
not started the last season yet.
okay.
Finishing a different show at the moment, but that is on my list and gonna probably use that in my downtime when I finish that up quickly, so that way I'm not having to keep you guys away from keeping spoilers from me. So
My good news of the week isn't really good news, just a little bit of technology. I'm taking a page out of someone else's book around here. I have the newest iPhone and there's constantly updates. And Matt, you might have even mentioned this, but I don't know for sure if it was again on air or in text. You may or you may not have. But there is a feature on the newest iPhone where if I get four messages or three messages from the same person, or if I get three emails in a row, they actually combine them to a point where like it's like a shortened version of an abridged version of what you're reading. So just for instance here, the three eggs chat from a couple days ago, it says now there were four texts. Now I don't think they're quite up to the four yet. I think it's really they're combining two, but it's still kind of good. It says saw SNL concert featuring Post Malone and Nirvana. Wife disliked Post Malone. And if you actually look at the four texts, it's she's incorrect. My wife hated the Post Malone thing. Post Malone's saying smells like Teen Spirit with Nirvana incredible. We've had two screenings. This SNL concert was incredible. So I got enough. I got enough of what I need, is what I'm getting at here. I don't need to read these texts anymore.
You're letting this is the AI stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
AI,
yeah.
new phone, the new operating system. You can choose to have text and other things, emails summarized. Now I immediately turn that off
A
because
lot of people do.
because when it first chose without my permission to summarize some messages, I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. And then when I expanded the situation and saw that it had combined a couple texts, the meaning had totally been changed from whatever that was supposed to be. So I was like, I'm not, this is not where it needs to be here.
I think one of the funniest ones is the Gmail here, and I'm going to let it go after this. Because one is, all right, here we go. Received a thank you reward from Timu. Brad spent more this month on Rocket Money. Now, what they're saying is that I've never bought a thing in Timu my entire life, but I do. I subscribe to it, and then I wish I would never have because I can never get this cart empty again that I filled up. But so it says so far this month you've spent so much money at Rock. They're keeping track of how much money I spent, but it's not just the money I spend. It's four accounts that I have here, and I thank you for letting me know. And what the mysterious thing is from Timu, I guess one day I'll have to find out. But I I just think it's fun. A lot of people I know have turned it off. So, Madam, you're not alone.
Yeah, I don't need it doing the work for me to miscommunicate, you know. I don't need
It's definitely miscommunicating.
yeah.
That's the thing that's really funny about it. It's just miscommunicating. And I just find it a little funny, is really what I'm getting at here. But that's, sunny side up. Not a lot going on this week so far. But what about you, Bryant?
my sunny side up is as you are listening to this, I have just finished spending a week in Omaha working at the state wrestling tournament for uh, Nebraska here, and it is one of the funnest weeks of my year, aside from my trips to Waterloo or WrestleMania. I do this trip every year. I volunteer down there. I've coached down there. Right now, I've been kind of a volunteer the last few years. It's a fun weekend. It's a fun week now because we've added girls state wrestling as well. So it's just fun to catch up with everybody. All of us live all across the state. So I'm finally seeing people from the west side to western half of the state to all the way out in Omaha and Lincoln area. So for me, it's just getting a chance to connect with old friends, live off of chicken wings, whether it be at Hooters or Buffalo Wild Wings or Quaker Steak and Lube, and just getting a chance to kick back with friends that sadly I probably won't see again until this time next year. So I hate to say that, but that's what happens when you're an adult, I'm told. So
Well, I'm really glad you had a great time.
yeah, it's a ton of fun. Like, it sucks living out of a hotel for a week, but
Did you tip your maid?
I do, of course, because when you're there that long, you have to. Like, that's just ridiculous to not.
Is there any one event in particular this week that really stands out to you?
It's usually the boys tournament. Like this year's the girls, just because this is the first time the girls are on their own. Like they've had them combined the last probably 4 years, so it's the first time the girls are on their own. So getting to see them have their own tournament, their own spotlight, you would say, is something that's amazing to see. and its growth has been exponential. That we've far exceeded everybody's expectation.
All right, I'll leave it at that. But
Thank you.
well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So it's hard boiled time, and this is going to be a little different this week because it's going to be very unpopular. Well, I mean, it usually is unpopular if you check out our YouTube page. However, I'm a big fan of the Kelseys. I also like Taylor Swift. Not like listen to her music regularly or anything like that, but there's nothing wrong with her. Just a positive influence on the world, I would say. And the Kelseys are funny guys, and Jason Kelsey is a longtime Eagle, and Travis Kelsey, I like him too. I don't care what people say. But if you didn't know, the Super Bowl was a couple weeks ago at this point, and the Kelseys, I don't know who all pitched in, but they spent $3 million on a suite at the Super Bowl. Now, first thing you're saying is chump change for them, right? I mean, Taylor Swift is a billionaire, probably close to it by now. Kelseys are both doing very well. But isn't there something to be said about spending $3 million on an event that is one night? What could $3 million do for me? Well, I know I don't live in a $3 million home. I know I don't live in a $1 million home. But let's leave me out of this. I think there is an irresponsibility with spending that kind of money, no matter how much you have, on one night for one event. There is so much that can be done in this world with $3 million that I can't believe. I don't care how good the hors d'oeuvres are. I don't care how good the drinks are. I don't care how good the hookers are, which I know they're not in there. I'm just saying. I mean, you would expect, right? But no matter how good of an event it is one night only. Now, a couple years ago, I went to a year ago, I went to WrestleMania, and I felt very guilty about the kind of money I spent at WrestleMania, which is not even close to a fraction of what we're talking about here. But I did feel guilty about it. Why? Because the tickets were. I could have been doing something better with the money. No, I'm not anyway poor, but I'm not. There's a lot more I could be doing. I have a daughter in college. I have, I have many things I could be doing with this home. I have money to save for retirement. I mean, I have these things I should be doing, but no, I chose to spend the money a little irresponsibly. My wife says it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. Maybe she's right. Maybe she isn't, but I did feel guilty about it. But $3 million in one night, whether or not you have the money or not, I just feel there's a responsibility to do something better with that money. And I do like the Kelseys, but I don't agree with it.
It's a lot of money. What do they really get? Why does it cost that much? Is my question.
They cost anywhere between whatever these suites are between $500,000 and $3 million. Doesn't matter who you are. It's such a rich man's game anymore with these events. Now I understand it's Super Bowl, but a rich man's game. When did everything become such a rich man's game? Super Bowl, yes, is the highest of the high. WrestleMania is probably close.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I can't even go to an Eagles game now under $1,000 for 2 tickets for a decent seat. I'm not talking about front row. I'm not talking about back row. I'm talking maybe in the middle. $1,000.
Yeah, tickets are rough.
Okay. So that's my hard boiled of the week. Just really an opinion. And I guess you guys kind of agree.
Of course.
Yeah.
I just want to say I feel like you're typecasting. How do you know Taylor Swift doesn't enjoy hookers? You're just saying she doesn't? You don't know. There could have been strippers in there. There could have been strippers in there that she could have been enjoying. We don't know this.
One more small point to make about Taylor Swift. She was booed at the Super Bowl. I would like to go on record to say that don't assume that everybody was an Eagles fan that was booing at her. We were in New Orleans, Louisiana. Let's not assume that everybody was an Eagles fan because she did sell out 3 stadium events here in a row and everybody seemed to love her, but it was shocking. And I did feel a little bit for her.
The boos come from not being Taylor Swift, but being Travis Kelsey's girlfriend. Not Taylor, not just that's what it was.
And growing up an Eagles fan and now rooting for the Chiefs because she is from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So I know it's right. But I would just say, let's not assume. Let's never assume.
She has notoriety. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. That's what comes with being that level of celebrity.
Yeah, she is a very positive influence, though. I've never seen her say a bad thing. She takes care of people, but hey, well, I guess welcome to Louisiana, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But anyway, that leads us to our next segment, which we haven't done in a while. The chicken or the egg with Matt M. Matt M, what do we got?
Are you indicating that we've done this before? Because I thought this was the first time.
You're very well could be right.
All right. New category alert. New category alert.
We got plenty of them this week.
Chicken or the egg preferences. All right. I thought long and hard about this. I came up with 2 things that are my preferences of things in life that I wanted to share with you guys. Number 1, Monday off is way better than Friday off.
Why?
So, first of all, let's establish most people, when you think long weekend, you think, I'm going to take Friday off. Okay. That's that's the classic move. Okay. A lot of holidays can be Mondays. I like to take if it's my choice in the matter, I like to take Monday off. If you take Friday off, you transform Thursday night into Friday night. Okay. Your weekend starts a little early. Sunday is still the same.
Yeah.
If you have Monday off, you have now transformed your Sunday into another Saturday. Boom. I have always felt like this. If I am creating a long weekend for myself, I do the Monday off. Plus, I don't like leaving my work week sort of having an unfinished feeling by not being there Friday and carrying over into the weekend a little bit, because that kind of happens with my work.
Yeah.
I like to finish the week and then I'll come back a day later than everybody else. What do you guys think?
I want to weigh in on this because it's very, very, it hits close to home with me a lot because I, up until recently, had Fridays off. Now, Fridays off was very nice because why? Because I work Saturdays. But if I did need that 3-day weekend, I already had the Friday. So just to take the Saturday vacation day, I had that weekend now. However, there was that feeling that if something didn't get handled by 2 o'clock on Thursday, it didn't get handled till Monday, which caused me a lot of stress on Monday morning more often than not. Monday, I was never excited to go in because I knew I had some things I had to deal with that should have been dealt with. But because I wasn't in, they didn't get dealt with. Now my schedule is Tuesday off, which I was kicking and screaming about this. However, now I got that Monday. So it's kind of the same as the
It is
Friday,
kind
except now I don't have that incomplete week. Now, like you said, I have Wednesday and let's get this stuff going and I'll get it figured out by the end of the week. Huh, Mad M.
Bryant?
I'm gonna take the whole different stance. I'm a Friday guy. I am very big on a lot of when in my job, we do a lot of our meetings on Mondays. Our Monday meetings where we go over last week's performance, things we need to get going for the week, new items, things of that nature. Everything's on a Monday for us. That's where most of our emails come out, most of our flash stuff comes through. Whereas on a Friday, to us, it's we should have everything ready for the weekend. Everything should be done. You can work ahead to help so that way that Friday isn't as is taken care of, and it's not really adding anything extra to your day. So to me, Friday is the better day because then also, if I'm going out of town, I can leave on a Friday, come back in, and then Sunday's always Sunday to me. But where if I miss a Monday, I miss almost half my work essentially through meetings and emails and stuff, and then you're playing catch up even more on Tuesday to prepare everyone else for the rest of the week as well.
You're not wrong about having a lot of meetings and stuff like that on Monday. Nobody's off at Monday at my work. Now, except for a vacation day. You're right. You have to be there most Mondays.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's line of work is different. My work week is the meaty part of the week is probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is nice. I don't really hit the ground running too hard on Mondays. I don't have a lot of meetings on Mondays, and I really try not to have a lot of meetings on Fridays. I don't really like to introduce new stuff on a Friday afternoon. All right, well, that was good. Here's the second one. I prefer to not watch movie trailers and not watch when I'm watching TV, not watch when the episode ends and they show you clips for the next week, coming attract, previews for the next week. I prefer to not watch that stuff ever. It's too revealing. I don't need to be convinced to watch the next episode of something I'm watching. I'm already going to watch it. And I can tell you based on my 40 plus year history of watching movies if I'm going to want to watch something or not without watching a 2.5 minute spoiler. Too revealing.
I don't find them to be spoilers, but I do think that they make it. I sometimes think that the trailer is more exciting than the movie. And that it builds a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
But by the time I get to see it, maybe it was all just excitement developed by the trailer.
Overhyped.
Yeah.
One of the great thrills for me going to the movies is watching the trailers, sitting there, and you watch all the trailers before the movie starts. That's like so much fun because then you lean over to your spouse and you're like, God, that looks terrible. Or, oh man, I want to see that. Like, that's so much fun to me.
But I already know. My mind's already made up. I
Well,
don't
as an executive, of course, you know all
Mhm.
these stuff already. I mean, you see all this stuff in advance, anyways. Who cares? But for us average Joes like Brad and myself, it's a thrill
Right.
because we get to see what's going
Right,
on.
I got the screen. I got the
And
screen.
at least it's only a half hour now.
It is long.
I mean, what the heck, right?
Yeah.
There's just flat out commercials now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Just
Oh yeah.
commercials like you'd see at home on the big screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Flat out.
Well, there's my chicken and the egg.
Very good. I enjoyed
Chicken or
that.
the egg.
Fantastic.
Chicken or the egg.
So yet again another new segment.
How is
And
this
this one
possible?
wasn't even on there, Matt. What am
How
I
is this-
doing, huh?
How is it possible?
Egg drop soup. What is that? Oh, I'll tell you what it is. Small embarrassing moments. So what that means is something that's just like maybe it wasn't the end of the world, but it was like, yeah. So, Bryant, what do you got?
Well, as I mentioned in my, opening spot there, I do some volunteer work. I referee for wrestling meets during the winter months here, and helps me kind of keep the passion alive for something that I've loved for a long time. And getting into referee work, you have to buy your own uniforms. They provide you with shirts and badges. You have to get some nice slacks for you. And
Next pair of slacks.
I knew there was a lot of movement going on with this referee thing because you're going up, down, and all this. I didn't realize how much more breathable those need to be. First tournament, first meet, I decided to be a referee. And my fellow referees were mentioning that pants seem a little tight. And I was like, no, they're loose enough. They're great. I can do this. It'll be no big deal. First match, first time going down, just splits right at the seam. And my underwear and pants are out. And my underwear is out there for everyone to enjoy as I'm trying to count a pinfall for a young man. And luckily, I only had to do that for, wear those pants, the rest of the day, because who brings extra slacks to a wrestling meet to help their fellow people out? So for me, that was my fun time.
How did you perform? That was it?
Yeah, we just so actually what we cheated on doing was luckily we had an extra guy to sub in. So I subbed out and the people thought it would be fun. So we took a piece of athletic tape and just ran it right down the seam there. And yeah, that's how we put my pants back together.
On top?
No, we just pulled the pants together, put a piece of athletic tape there, and then the tape kind of we kept it a little looser so then that way I could still move around. But yeah, I threw on some shorts underneath my kind of changed out to have a little better underneath garment in case it happened again. The tape gave out. But
so
it didn't
straight up Three Stooges, slip on the banana peel type of a situation, huh?
Pretty much, yeah. Yep.
All right. Love it. Love it. So for me, it's more general. Okay. So let's picture it. You're in a group setting, a lot of people. Maybe you're at a fair, maybe you're at church, maybe you're at a place where you know everybody a little bit, maybe not know everybody a lot. All right. And someone waves to you from across the room. And so you wave back, only to realize they were waving to the people behind you. You cannot take that back. You cannot hide that embarrassment. You're just like, and there's no way out of it. There's no way out of it. You're just like, you just kind of look away and go somewhere else. Now, in turn, it also happens to you sometimes, doesn't it? Now, where you're waving at someone and then someone in front of them waves and you're like, damn, I feel their embarrassment. I feel their embarrassment a lot. How can I play this off where they think I'm waving at them and they think I'm waving at them, even though these people behind them are coming towards me and ready to talk? You can't. You just got to act like it never happened and move on with your life. Very short and sweet, very general, but it's that little embarrassment.
Yeah. I've had the wave experience for sure. It's tough. I think once it was like a handshake.
Oof.
It was like it was like, level 3.
Oh.
Right. It was like shaking each other's hands, and it was like, no, this was the wrong interaction that was supposed to happen here. Oh man, it was bad. All right, my turn. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I didn't do a great job with this category, and not because there aren't embarrassments in my life, but ones that would be worth discussing are gigantic embarrassments. And that's number one, not what the topic is, and number two, maybe I don't want to discuss these horribly embarrassing moments from my life. But I had some stuff written up for that I was going to bring to the show at some point when I found the appropriate category. So I'm going to use it now. And this is not. I'm not going to knock your socks off here, but it's a couple of childhood misconceptions that I had when I was a kid. We've all heard the expression, don't drink and drive, right? Don't drink and drive. When I was a kid, I thought that meant we weren't allowed to drink anything when you're driving. No water, no soda, nothing. Just make sure you're not consuming a beverage while you're operating a vehicle. And I probably didn't realize till I was near driving age myself that that's not what that meant.
Oh, wow, that's late.
It was probably, yeah, I was a little, it was, I didn't feel like I was a child anymore. And very similarly, another driving thing was the expression, don't leave the scene of an accident, right? You're not supposed to leave the scene of an accident. I thought that just meant like if you just saw one. I didn't not like, oh, if you're a participant in the event. But it's like, no, no, no. If you just drove by an accident, you got to stay there, baby. You happen to see this thing, you are stuck there. That's what I thought. So I mean, honestly, I'm a little embarrassed just saying it now. So I guess it does
Because it went on for so long.
It went on for too long. Yeah, yeah.
And then one day you realize you're like, what a dumbass, right?
What a dumbass. Childhood misconception.
I think we all got things like that. That's good.
Oh yeah.
So,
Very good. Well, that was fun, guys. We can do that again, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe over the next few weeks, write some stuff down,
Yeah.
and then maybe in a month or so we'll come back to it. How's that sound? Which brings us to the omelet, the main topic of the show. And this week, it's Bryant. Bryant.
Yes. I drew the straw this week, I guess, here. So I'm with a friend and we're watching some movies. And the normal movie motions happen. And my friends was like, God, these movies are so, all these cliches just keep coming up. And I'm like, no, these aren't really cliches. These are the tropes that we see in all these movies. I'm not a movie savant like my executive counterpart here, but when I'm watching movies, there's always stuff that comes up. We always see some of the same things, no matter the movie it is. And it's distinguishing between the cliches and the tropes, And my friend's like, oh, these are all these cliches. And I'm like, no, these are tropes. Tropes are the things you see in every movie, For example, the tropes are storytelling devices that communicate something to us as the audience. There's something that's complex. The actions, they refer back to something. There's a meaning to everything. Essentially, film tropes are anything that allude to something other than its literal meaning. So I just kind of picked a few film tropes here. And I thought, I'm sure, and again, we've all seen them, but there's always the film trope of, he's right behind me, isn't he? You're telling that story, you're having that conversation back and forth, and all of a sudden you just feel that person's there. And no matter what it is, we've all had that moment, even in real life, I'm sure. One that has always kind of come up as well, it's that female role, that femme fatale, it's something that started in the early movies where this woman would seduce the detective to get away with something, or leading someone to, ultimately turn on them somehow and make it so that way they didn't find the solution they were looking for. Some examples that I have of some femme fatales here would be the Sharon Stone character, Katherine Trammell in Basic Instinct. We all remember the scene where she's being, interviewed, and obviously she does that scene where obviously she shows you what's going on, but that's not the point. Because with that character, she's trying to, stop what's going on. She's trying to sway the police from going after, what they're looking for anyway. Another person that from a movie that I enjoy, the Amy Dunn character in Gone Girl. Now, this one's a little different because, obviously she also writes it up to be kind of not really deceiving. She gets more of that empathy. She has that detail. Therefore, trying to show that it's more of the relationship with the husband deceiving, not the police in this sense, because she's trying to get out of the relationship. But her way of just trying to get everyone to her side on that, and one that we all know and love, the Selena Kyle character in Batman. She's always out for this vengeance for wrongs that she feels, and it's almost a vengeance kind of a thing. And with that, she's robbing, trying to rob the rich because she feels they're wronging the people, the poor in Gotham. And with those, it's more of just trying to make the movie, I don't want to say better, but that there's always going to be that female lead, and it's what the role is, and that's usually the role that's always there. There's always the voiceover. The movie starts with somebody, the close up on somebody, and it's, yep, that's me right there. And then they're narrating whatever's going on, trying to tell the story in that form. The one that's been kind of the more popular version coming up a lot now is It Was All a Dream. Think of Inception as the perfect example of the dream within the dream within the dream. Oh, and there's still one more dream on top of that. You don't know where you are. But that's become the more common one that leads to more of that storytelling device. But for me, and the reason this was brought up is my favorite genre is horror. I can own that one. I love horror movies. It is my favorites. I have an entire movie collection upstairs of all horror movies. If I could, I would watch them every day, but people would probably think I'm insane. And horror has seemingly the most tropes of all. Naturally, the one that everybody remembers the most, and it's even used in more modern movies as well, is the mirror scare. You're looking in the mirror, as in the top picture, you close the mirror or move a little bit, and then there's your ghost. There's your horror villain just trying to scare them. And, you just try to scare everyone that you can, make them feel like that's the entity coming for you, no matter what it is. In horror movies, there's always the final girl. The girl always lives. Most of the time you see a man, he's going to die. Let's just be honest here. There's also, death by sex, which is the one that I always enjoy laughing at now. Of the moment you see the sex scene starting, well, I know they're going to die. You just know. The reason I bring all these up, though, is the trope is always going to be that staple of every movie. There's always something that's in that you will see in every movie going forward, whether it's the voiceover, the mirror scare, the femme fatale, as we mentioned. That's what makes movies great, though. And that's the part that, for some people, it's a cliche and something they get tired of. But for, movie buffs or people who enjoy movies, that's the thing they're looking for to help them learn the story and help the story be told to a broader audience. So do you guys have any examples of tropes or things that I know Matt probably has a million, but Brad?
So this might not qualify because it's more about the formula of a movie to me sometimes. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's always all right. So in the beginning, let's just say two people don't get along, right? Mm-hmm. Then they start to get along. Then they're best friends. And then something happens where now it's gone terribly wrong and they're not getting along again. And something else has to happen at the end where the movie, now they're okay again. Like more of a rom-com is a good example of that. Two people from two different, my wife has a Hallmark Channel on all the time. Two people meet in the beginning. The woman that lives there already, but is having money trouble, but has the perfect outfits and the perfect home and the perfect backyard. And then there's the guy, and she's there. And then the guy comes into town to buy her business, because she knows she's going wrong, and now she doesn't like him, but she's trying to fight it. And then they get to know each other, and then he ends up buying the business anyway, but then ends up working. Stuff like that. That to me is what I think about, like a formula, but I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about.
It's kind of the trope. It's the usually the unsung hero, or the unsung friendship is what you're talking about. That trope of you're not friends to start, but you become friends throughout the movie. That's the trope of that is you gain that friendship through the movie. And that's another one. That's another example of a good one of, something to help. And again, it helps build the story. The cliches I always feel are what are there. The tropes are what make and build the story to me. So Matt, I'm sure you have a laundry list of these that I'm missing as well.
Not exactly. I've taken some notes. So one of the first things you brought up was he's right behind me, isn't he? Now, that is always a really silly, corny one for me because I have never had that experience in real life. I don't think. And I've never, not to the point of where I've said it like that. But I want to say that they use that in wrestling a lot when they're doing
Hmm.
their backstage skits. I feel like it happened recently. But that's a big one there. Um, Horror movies for sure use and reuse the same storytelling devices. And also so much of what like the perpetrators accomplish in these movies is so ridiculously far-fetched. Like cutting the power at an exact right moment or cutting the phone line. How do you cut a phone line? How do you will you research that? What are these villains researching this ahead of time? Finding exactly where that one wire is in the undercarriage of the house. And, well, it
Well, yeah, they have the diagram of the home, and
doesn't
that's how they
make
know where to
it doesn't
go. And
make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Um, Brad, you made me think of. I feel like you were kind of trying to get there, but
Yeah, I was
thinking
struggling.
of the like the type of character where there's like maybe an old friend that comes back and they're like really annoying, but you love this person, but they're really annoying. They don't have their life together. They make bad decisions and they're dragging you down with them. And for some reason, this movie comes to mind. You, Me, and Dupree. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah,
Owen Wilson,
yeah,
I think, was just like an awful friend,
didn't know it though.
and
yeah.
you think to yourself like, this is so ridiculous because I would not spend any time with this person in real life. And they get way worse before they get better, and then by the end of the movie, they've saved the day, even though they're probably the person who was ruining the day to begin with. There's plenty of other examples. Um, this is not. I'm going a little off course here. I hope you don't mind.
No, please. I mean,
I
I'm used to
remember
this now. Go for it.
we were talking about the femme fatale thing, and if I said that right, I think that there has been a lot of stories that have been told that have a very, 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 very similar premise to, and I'm just going to use this as my baseline, but the premise of Kill Bill
Yep,
being
she's an example of one as well. Yeah.
being Uma Thurman's character, being this highly trained deadly assassin that leaves the life, starts up a new life as a regular person, and their present day family has no idea about their past life as a killer or a spy or whatever. But I've seen that happen numerous times. It happened, and sorry, there might be some spoilers here, but it was the premise of a season of Fargo. It was the premise of the Bob Odenkirk movie Nobody.
Hmm.
It just keeps popping up to the point where I'm not as impressed anymore. Now, I'm not saying Kill Bill was first. I do love Tarantino. It's the earliest out of the three that I'm bringing as examples. But that's a little tired for me. And then somebody made me think of The Dream Within the Inception.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those movies that um, Nolan writes are pretty similar, stacking things, playing with time. There is a movie 20 years ago or more called Existence. You ever see that movie? I think Jude Law's in
No.
it. It was a small time movie, but it had to do it's probably so relevant right now. It had to do with people getting like a little bit lost in like a VR world and AI and that sort of thing, and losing touch with what was real and what's what's in the real world and what's in the video game world. There's probably a dozen movies like that now, but I remember this being like a really, really good take on that, and it was probably 20 or more years old. And again, it wasn't like a big, I think it was like really early Jude Law, like probably before he achieved like movie star status that I think he probably has now. It was a good movie though. So those were my notes.
Okay. Great notes. I mean, and like you said, I mean, You mentioned the Kill Bill. There's plenty of the femme fatales that are always going to be out there. We had, I'll use my youth as an example of I would watch Monday Night Raw. What would come on after that? La Femme Nikita. And, there's TV shows that are always going to be out there with that too. So it's not just movies, but it also transitions to TV as well. But these are always going to be what makes the movies to me great. You don't have to look for them, but you spot them, whether it's that voiceover, the female lead, or even, the dream sequence. And then all of a sudden they wake up and you're like, I think of a movie recently called Reminisce with, oh my God, drawing a blank, Hugh Jackman. Thank you. Came up with it. But it's
I
about
remember.
dreams.
I saw that one.
Yeah, it's about dreams and going through them, kind of same as kind of a little bit with Inception, but that there's always going to be these there forever. And it's just, if you catch them, great. If not, you see them afterwards and then you go, that was it. Okay. But that's mine, Brad.
I enjoyed it. Very, very good. Very different. I mean, even though we do a lot of entertainment on the show, I felt that was very different. Bryant, you're okay.
I'm trying, guys. I'm trying.
Which brings us to our next news segment, cracked eggs. Now, what does cracked eggs mean? This can be interpreted a number of different ways. Moments when we slipped up, cracked egg, just a crack. So, Matt, you're first on the list. What do you got?
Well, first of all, new topic alert. Third one of the episode.
That's what we do. We do things in
16
bunches.
episodes in. Is this a sign that our previous egg topics just aren't working?
What is a sign of is actually, I think that we needed to freshen it up a bit.
No, it's good. I love it. I do. So I'm going to take this literally, the slipping up part. I'm going to take it literally. And by the way, a little similar to egg drop soup, category wise.
Very similar.
Similar. So I'm going to take this literally. And Brian, I did send you a picture earlier in the week that will be useful in a moment. Slipped up. I have fallen down the stairs in my house twice. And I want to tell you about both of them. Now, we have previously established that my house is overly carpeted. And that includes 2 staircases. Staircase from the main level to the bedroom level, and the staircase from the bedroom level to the attic, which is actually where I am now, where the office area is. It's not, as you can see, it does have the slanted top on the top of the house, but it is not like a crawl space. There's actually a carpet up here, which is ridiculous. Carpeted stairs, you learn, are not safe.
No.
You can handle it in slippers, and you could probably handle it in bare feet, but if you're wearing socks, you best be careful.
You best.
So years ago, the first time I fell down the stairs, it must have been 2018 because my son was pretty much a newborn and I was holding him in my arms and I slipped on the top step and I fell all the way down the stairs while holding him, and he was like an infant. Now, fortunately, I had a good cradle. I had the good proper baby holding cradle on him. And I slipped sort of as cleanly as it could have been. I just fell kind of on my butt and just, my ass and my lower back just took every step on the way down. And it was right in the morning. He must have just woken up. So I was half asleep and I missed a step or something. That must be what happened. My wife was still in bed. Of course, she heard the commotion and she must have been thinking the worst. Now, I knew I had him, so thank God. I mean, I was in tremendous pain. He was fine. Obviously, you'll take that in that situation.
Yeah. Yes.
But she was like, what happened? I was like, he's fine. Like, what about you? I was like, not so much. I was in pain for a little while. Fast forward to a couple years after that, pandemic times. Now I'm working from home a lot. I'm convert the area I'm in now to an office area. I'm going up and down the stairs a lot. And I would always be wearing slippers. I like to wear house shoes, as we call them around here. But for whatever reason, on this particular day, I was wearing socks, which as we've established, is dangerous. And also, this staircase is steep and narrow because it's not a traditional staircase. It's an attic staircase.
Yeah.
So um, I'm going down the stairs and I'm carrying a glass of water, actually made of glass, not like a plastic cup, an actual glass of water. And I slip and down I go, boom, boom, boom. And at the very foot of the stairs is a door, the door that when you're on the bedroom level, you open the door to reveal the stairs to the attic. I went smashing into this door in this image here for the viewing people. Obviously, the door is open, but you can see that if this door is closed, it is flush up against the first step, right?
Yeah.
So I slid down and my left foot went through the half an inch gap that's created between the last step and the door when the door's all the way shut. And I got stuck. I was completely wedged in the door. My foot was stuck. In the image, you can see that I kicked a hole through the door. So my foot is through the door. The glass went flying. Thankfully, it didn't shatter, but I was drenched in the water that was in the cup. I was literally stuck. I did not have my phone with me. There was no one else home. I was in somewhat pain, but also like sort of like a little bit of a shock feeling like I'm literally stuck. I cannot get out right now. The door was wedged shut. I couldn't get the knob open. Who knows why? And I sat there for probably in excess of 5 actual minutes thinking like, how am I going to get out of here? Because I was stuck. My
Oh,
foot
man.
went through a space with such velocity, I couldn't recreate that velocity to get it back out, you know? And I had to decide between, do I try to hammer on the door until I break it off? And I don't even know if I'm able to do that. And then I have to deal with this, get a new door. Or do I try to rip my foot out of the hole and probably hurt myself in the process? And that's what I ended up doing. Thankfully, I was wearing a sock. If I was barefoot, well, first of all, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
True. Very true.
But if I was barefoot, I would have, I would have really injured my foot. And I finally got out of there. I was really banged up. My right hip, which is how I slid down the stairs, was 3, 4 days later, was black, the size of a basketball on my right hip for like 5 weeks. It was just the biggest, most ugly, disgusting, dark bruise ever, just from how I smashed the stairs. So, cracked eggs. I've slipped up twice on my stairs.
Wow.
I'll jump in here. First of all, this is a PSA for hardwood floors. Should have hardwood
Agreed.
floors.
Agreed.
We talked about this already. But I have a question for you, Matt. And so for the folks at home, we're seeing a picture of Matt's staircase, his door with the hole in it. My question is, if you look, you can see your foot at the bottom of
Yes.
the picture here. Do you pick your carpeting based on your sock colors?
Here I am wearing socks in the PSA where I'm telling you that wearing socks on the stairs is the dangerous thing.
Is it because your foot blended in with the coloring so well that you just couldn't see your foot on the stair?
It
Is
is
that why you
actually
missed it?
fun. I didn't even notice, but
I wasn't sure what that was. I wasn't 100% if that was his foot or not.
it's
Yeah, no.
it's a sock. It's a Puma. That's a Puma.
Yeah, definitely a
Yeah.
Puma.
Definitely Puma. But again, the coloring is so there
It
that
is.
I'm just going, you clearly were looking down like, oh, that's not my foot on the stairs. And you went. That's why you fell.
It's actually not the same color. The carpeting is actually blue and the socks are gray, but it
Looks very deceiving through picture though.
does look the same. I think I should be given a lot of hell for telling you this whole story, and then here I am wearing a friggin' sock.
Yes, times have not changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right, so from 2008 to 2012, so I was married till 2008, and then I met my new wife in 2012. We weren't married till 16, but from 2008 to 2012, I was a single dad. And around 2009, there was this birthday party that I was taking my daughter to, and she was very excited for it. It was at a place called Bounce U. I don't know if you ever heard of it. I don't even know if it's still around, but it was like a lot of trampolines. Okay, they've have a lot of recreations of this sense with a lot of different places. So that was what the party was. So it was a Sunday, and we do our thing in the morning. We're getting ready to go. We buy the gift. We're excited. So I got to stay there with her. She's only, I think this is 2009, so she is 5. So she's in kindergarten. So we go and we're walking in and looking around, and I'm like, where is everybody? Now there's people there, but nobody I knew. Where is everybody? So I went to the right area and everything. Yeah, that party was for the day before. So here I am with my daughter, who is 5 years old, who is beyond excited to be at Bounce You, to hang out with her friends and jump up and down. And I screwed it up and read the date wrong. I never forget, they gave me like one of the gift bags when we left, and I had to take her out of there and tell her what happened. And we get in the car, and she was devastated beyond belief. And from that, I mean, it, I don't usually make mistakes like that, but I really made that mistake. And I will say that was one of the biggest slip up moments that I've ever had, and made it up to her for like a year, I swear. We went to the movies, and then she goes to the school the next day and talks to her friends, and she comes home the next day and reaffirms to me that we missed it. Yes, yes, I know we missed it. They're not recreating this for you. It's over. So big slip up by dad.
That hurts,
No,
and I feel for you.
now it's been 15 years. I'm getting better, uh, with it, but hopefully she doesn't remember it.
So sorry, Brian, before you go, friend of mine, this is probably 15 years ago now. He bought tickets for him and his girlfriend to see Pearl Jam at the Garden, and they were playing 2 nights. And they went the second night, and their tickets wouldn't scan, and then they took a closer look and realized it was for the night before, and they missed it.
Oh boy, big money.
That's bad.
Hmm. So I guess you're right, Matt. That is a little egg drop soupish / cracked eggs.
Oh
But
yeah.
go ahead, Brian.
So mine has a little bit kind of about the same that story Matt just told there. So I bought tickets for Sue and her mom to go to a concert. And I bought them hotel rooms so that way they could drive out early, stay at the hotel, and don't gotta worry about driving back. And I gave them all the information, so all they had to do was just go and do everything. And I go and they drive out, and it's in Denver. So they get there, and all of a sudden it's around 10 o'clock at night, and Sue calls and she's like, "Hey, we're at the hotel." I was like, "Okay, great. That's good to hear." She goes, "No, they don't have our information." I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, we say you're not in the system. They have no idea what we were talking about. And so what did you do?" And I was like, "Well, let me look everything up." And I flipped around the numbers on the date. So instead of it being the 13th, I put it in for the 31st for the date. So yeah, they had no room because they were sold out because of the concert. And so they had to go drive around Denver to find a hotel.
Oh my gosh.
And the only reason I booked that hotel was because it was in walking distance of the venue. So that way they could just walk and wouldn't have to fight traffic. And so, yeah, that was a slip up on my part because then, yeah, they had to eventually get a room, like not the next town, but like out on basically the outskirts of town and then have to drive in, which is what I was trying to avoid them having to do.
Such a helpless situation.
Yeah, it is, especially where like 9 times out of 10, I'm there, so I can fix it. It's the one time I'm always like, it's always the one time I'm not there that something's gonna happen.
You had
And
a
yeah,
good
this was one.
intention.
Yeah, we were trying.
Good
I was
intention.
trying. I mean, yeah.
That's the
So,
worst when you have good intentions and it just backfires on you. Just got a small misstep,
mhm.
as we say,
Yeah.
a slip up, if you will.
So I'm glad you said that about the transposing the numbers because you reminded me of something that happened at work years ago, which was so funny at the time. So I'm going to share it now. I used to sit pretty close to like the office manager, admin sort of guy who would, order the office supplies and take care of the water cooler and things like that. And I just was in earshot of him all the time. And we had a water machine, and then he also would order like cases of water so that we had bottles to like hand out if clients or guests or whatever were there. So we had loose water bottles. And he was on lunch break one day, and the water delivery guy shows up, comes in, puts down a couple of cases. He's got the hand truck or whatever. Comes back, a few more cases, comes back, a few more cases. And me and the person next to me are looking at each other like, there's no way this guy meant to order this much water. It's a wall of Poland Spring cases. And we knew it must have been a mistake, but we just let it happen because we just wanted to see the look on the guy's face when he got back. So he gets back, and it was like a moment from a movie where he was just like,
Which never happens.
he meant to put 4 in the online form. There was a 1 already there, and he put the 4. He tried to overwrite the 1 with the 4, but instead he made it 41. So they brought 41 cases of water instead of 4. I still laugh about it.
Luckily, sooner or later it'll get drank. But yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
A lot of women.
Very good. Very good, everybody. Very good for your first time. Which brings us to rotten eggs. And that's me this week. I have not done anything like this since we've done the show. So, 7th grade, I was playing basketball just in someone's backyard and go up and I get knocked down and I land hard. But no big deal. I'm okay. Okay. The next day, my dad and my mom and my aunt and uncle bought tickets for the 2 families to go to, it's April 11th, 1989. We are going to opening day at Three River Stadium. It is the Pittsburgh Pirates versus the New York Mets. Now, I am from Pittsburgh area, about an hour north. I live in Philadelphia since 2001. At the time, I was a pretty, I really liked that Mets team. It was Dwight Gooden. It was Gary Carter. It was Keith Hernandez. It was Darryl Strawberry. Just a great, fun team that you just love those players. They were Lenny Dykstra, even though whatever he turned out to be, at the time, they were just a cast of characters for sure. So we were going, and I was excited. So the next day I'm at school. Now we still went to school. You know, this was opening day. The game was at night, which is unusual today. And I remember being in the bathroom and, at the urinal, and let's just say the urine color wasn't the normal color. Okay. Now let's remember that I played basketball and fell hard the day before. Didn't think much of it. Maybe I had too much soda. I don't know. I was preteen, 12, 13. So I didn't think much of it. So we're going to the game and we actually go outside of the hotel room first of the players. And we're waiting outside just to get autographs. So I meet Dwight Gooden. The first thing he says to me is, "Kid, your pen don't work." It didn't. But then I got Darryl Strawberries. I got Keith Hernandez. I got Gary Carter. Lenny Dykstra refused me, but said okay to my sister. That's cool. Tim Tuffle, just a bunch of different guys. So it was a lot of fun. And that was really nice that my family did that. And they were all very, very cool. They just kept walking. They'd sign. They keep walking. They'd sign. We get to the game. We're getting there early. We're pretty early. And I start feeling pain, right? Game hasn't started yet. I start feeling pain. And then I felt the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life. And I go down. I go down hard. Next thing I know, I'm on a stretcher, right? And I'm being carried through the stadium to the hospital in Pittsburgh. And what it was I had a bruised kidney. So it was just such pain. So basically they just kept, that whole night, they just kept filling my bladder up and then with an IV, and it just kept coming out. My father's there, in the doorway watching the whole time. And it's just such a shame that this happened. Here's this big thing. I'm sure, my parents are middle class, very, they're well off, but this was an investment. And it was the great thing they were doing for their kids and their son. And I'm stuck in the hospital and I did not get to enjoy the game. And my dad didn't get to enjoy the game. Yes, I lived through it. I was internally bleeding, as you can tell from the very beginning. I should have known that. I should have realized it, but I missed the game. My dad and I stayed at the hospital. Everybody else went and, went home. And that is rotten eggs. 1989 opening day, April 11th, Pittsburgh Pirates versus New York Mets.
Oof. Stretchered out, he said.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been on a stretcher. I consider myself lucky.
Yeah, it's not something to brag about. I'm not bragging.
No. Oof.
Oh. Guess not many comments on that, but that is my rotten eggs. I think we haven't done it a whole lot.
But thinking about how that it feels, and it's not a good feeling.
It's the most pain I've ever felt, before and after. And I've had some pain. So anyway, way to end it on a high note, huh?
Yeah.
Wait, but before we go, Bryant, tell us about the most pain you've ever felt.
But what I wanted to make clear here, Matt M, is that sometimes the last segment on the show
Oh,
isn't so bad. I mean, it's bad, but it was entertaining at the
the
least.
SNL
Yes.
segment.
This is not an SNL segment. This is not an end of the show SNL segment. This is not 21 different egg types.
We'll
Okay.
be right back to wave at the camera with the host and the musical guest.
So, Matt, right back to you with the socials and next week.
All right. We are Three Eggs Are Better Than One, and we are cooking up every morning, every Monday morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Find us on YouTube at Three Eggs Are Better Than One. The number 3, the letter R, the number 1. Follow us on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok at Three Eggs Are Better. The number 3, the letter R. And also individual accounts at Yes Man Brad, at B Haremza, and I am at Purple Shirt Guy Without the Eye. And we are still coming after you guys for some 5-star reviews. Open up that Apple Podcast, hit the 5-star button, leave a review. If you do, maybe we'll share it on the show. What are we going to talk about next week? Matt M is going to bring to the table for discussion his dislikes, and there are many.
Sure of it.
Sure.
Well, I mean, I feel like that could be
Anything.
multi-episode.
This is everything I do is a part 1 ...
Yeah, this is true.
All right, Bryant, why don't you go ahead and take us home?
Well, thank you guys for joining us this week. We hope you enjoyed hearing some embarrassing moments, some slip-ups on our end, and maybe you got a better idea what some tropes are in movies to look for going forward. So, again, we thank you all. The egg timer's been set. We'll see you guys next week.